Board of Governors unanimously approved a plan of expansion to Seattle.
I heard you'd like to release the Kraken.
I would like to release the Kraken.
We're dreaming of what they dreamt of in 1917, which is to bring the Stanley Cup back to Seattle.
I'm really excited about the challenge and looking forward to doing some good things here in Seattle.
Welcome to Chandler's Cove here in Seattle's South Lake Union neighborhood. I'm Jessica Janner-Castro.
And I'm Paul Sylvie. Thanks for joining us to talk about Seattle's newest sports obsession, our NHL expansion team, the Seattle Kraken.
We're standing just outside the team's brand new flagship store. We can't wait to take you inside for a sneak peek. That's coming up a little later in our show.
There's just so much excitement around this team since the reveal of the name and logo in July. It was a major moment in this city's sports history. Here's a quick look back at the day Seattle released the Kraken.
Some 3 years ago, David Bonderman and Jerry Bruckheimer came to Seattle. They dreamed about a premier NHL franchise, supported by an amazing fan base and a new and beautiful arena. Today, we're taking another big step in that dream.
On a July morning in Seattle, that dream became tangible. Fans gathered virtually, awaiting the reveal of their new team. Flashes of past glory, iconic images of the Northwest, the fury of Mother Nature, until it all came into focus.
We are proud to give you the Seattle Kraken.
It was a brand 2 years in the making, built with a fan-focused approach.
A single survey resulted in 100,000 fans weighing in. We listened, we read every name, and we knew if we did listen, we couldn't go wrong.
And when we heard the rallying cry of the fans and we heard the undeniable passion they had for this name, we knew it was the one.
For help in crafting a distinctive identity, the organization turned to Adidas in Portland. The designers took their cues from Seattle itself, with colors inspired by our surroundings, from the peak of Mount Rainier to the depths of Puget Sound. Together, they fill the S that pays tribute to champions past and contains a shadowy tentacle eerily rising from the deep. And then there's that menacing red eye. With the uniform, it all comes together. On the shoulders of the sweater, a secondary logo inspired by Seattle's maritime culture and blended with our skyline's most recognizable shape. And in a fitting display, following the big reveal, the mayor raised a flag to the top of the Space Needle. It is amazing to see how this brand came together. It's certainly giving Seattle hockey fans something to cheer about, but they've had reason to cheer before.
The Kraken may be the first NHL team to make a home here in the Northwest, but hockey has been a part of our story for more than a century. Here's King 5's Chris Egan.
Just over a century ago, the city of Seattle had the best hockey team in the world, the Metropolitans.
They've won the league or finished second 7 of their 9 years, and they played for the Stanley Cup in 1917, 1919, and 1920.
Seattle native Kevin Tyson wrote a book called When It Mattered Most, which documents the forgotten story of America's first Stanley Cup champions, the Metropolitans. In 1917, Seattle knocked off a very good Vancouver team to win the league title, and then the mighty Montreal Canadiens to win it all 3-1.
It was a really well-rounded team that, they suffocated the other team's offense while they pounded them. It definitely was a shock, and it was a shift in hockey.
The win helped put Seattle on the map, but in 1924, the team folded when a replacement for the Seattle Arena could not be found.
And Pete Muldoon's the head coach, and he scrambles. He tries really hard to get a new arena built, can't do it. So then he goes down to Portland, and he coaches the Rosebuds for that final year. In
1944, the Pacific Coast Hockey League resurrected, and the city had plenty of semi-pro teams: the Ironmen, Bombers, Americans, and Totems. In 1977, the Seattle Breakers played in the Western Hockey League, but were sold and renamed the Thunderbirds in 1985. From 97 to 2002, the Tacoma SaberCats played in the West Coast Hockey League. A year later at Everett, the Silvertips franchise was born, and they would become an instant rival with the T-Birds in the WHL. Back to the Metropolitans in 1919, they were on the verge of winning a second Stanley Cup, but the series was canceled because of the Spanish flu outbreak. In Seattle, I'm Chris Egan.
It's clear hockey has always been in our DNA, even if the NHL has been just out of reach for so many years.
But in 2017, the ice finally began to thaw. We all watched as a dream slowly became a reality. Chris Daniels shows us how it all came to be.
Paul and Jessica, perhaps it is fitting that we are talking about the Kraken because it has been a monster of a process to get here. The home of the Kraken spawned nearly a decade ago.
Certainly we've talked to people who are interested in having NHL hockey in Seattle.
The puck didn't really drop until late 2017 with Tim Lewicki and his first hire, Lance Lopes.
This will allow us to finally get a winter sports franchise.
Seattle's council approved a memorandum of understanding for a new arena with Lewicki's Oakview Group in December of 17. UW grad David Bonderman led the application for an NHL expansion franchise 3 months later. And within 2 weeks, on March 1st of 18, 10,000 people signed up for tickets in 12 minutes. Lewicki phoned home the next month.
This is probably more complicated than building an arena in Seattle.
To secure the Seattle ice, his brother Todd.
Today is a sweet day.
By September of 18, the city had a deal for a new nearly $1 billion arena at Seattle Center. And then a month later, yet another one, led again by Lopes, for the future Kraken team headquarters and training facility on the Northgate Mall site. Around the same time, the mayor took Manhattan for a final shot at league executives.
It's eventually going to happen. I mean, Key Arena is going to be built, so yeah, I think it's imminent.
The city scored.
We'll bring a National Hockey League team to Seattle
when the league officially awarded the 32nd franchise on December 4th, 2018.
Seattle finally has an NHL franchise, but getting to this point required clearing a major hurdle that eluded the city for years. Where would the team play?
We're breaking ground on the next generation of the Seattle Center. We're going to break ground on this, and when this is done, it will be the best arena anywhere.
Built for the 1962 World's Fair alongside the Space Needle, this storied arena has had a few different names. The Washington State Pavilion, the Seattle Center Coliseum, and for the past 25 years, we've known it as Key Arena. Underneath that one-of-a-kind roof, unforgettable moments were etched into our memories, made by superstar musicians and championship teams.
In 1964, the Beatles played back-to-back sold-out shows.
In 1967, the Supersonics made their debut, and 7 years later, hosted the NBA All-Star Game.
Then in 2004, the Seattle Storm captured their first WNBA title in front of 17,000 fans. But the next time you step inside the arena, be ready for a whole new experience. What's happening now is not a mere remodel or renovation. The building we once knew is gone.
A completely new arena is rising beneath that 44 million pound roof. And as Chris Daniels shows us, it's an engineering feat that's not for the faint of heart.
Paul and Jessica, it really is amazing to see what has happened over at Seattle Center. Truly an engineering marvel. The pledge is real.
The concrete's all been poured. The event level, much of it's been poured.
The greenhouse is now taking shape.
We're aiming to be the first net zero carbon arena in the world.
Rob Johnson is the Seattle Kraken's Vice President of Sustainability and Transportation.
We're eliminating all the emissions that we know we can eliminate, right? We take the fossil fuels out.
He's been tasked with turning the nearly $1 billion Climate Pledge Arena into an environmental showcase for the Storm, concerts, and hockey too.
We're going to be capturing rainwater coming off the roof and using that to resurface the ice on a nightly basis.
The reconstruction of this site has been dramatic. Last fall, mountains of dirt sat on the spot. Gone now are those 600,000 cubic yards of soil. as is that decades-old sign atop the roof, and the temporary support beam known as the kickstand will be hauled off by next week. New permanent columns have already been poured. We are near what will be center ice, and you can see just how subterranean this project is. That is ground level. We are about 60 feet below that, and the lower bowl is already starting to take form.
How do we embed the Orchid card right into the phone? How do we embed the ticket right into the phone?
The Kraken's Senior Vice President Todd Humphrey says new tech will also play a role in how the bowl feeds the fans.
We're gonna have more marketplaces rather than stand in line belly up to the bar. So think of a ski lodge where you walk through, you get served, you pick up your items, and you go and check out.
All the pieces will be in place when the Kraken rise next year. As of right now, it appears the construction will be complete at Seattle Center by the summer of 2021.
The Seattle Kraken are staffing up for their inaugural season, but how do you build a new franchise from nothing? Diversity and inclusiveness are common buzzwords these days, but the Kraken are placing a premium on hiring unique voices, literally. The team recently brought on play-by-play announcer Everett Fitzhugh, the first black broadcaster for an NHL team.
You never intend to be that first. You never intend to be the trailblazer. But if you're given that opportunity, I think it's your responsibility to run with it and to embrace it. I think the Kraken are putting the NHL on notice in terms of trying to get as many different voices and backgrounds and beliefs and what have you within their organization. I mean, not only are they talking the talk, but they're walking the walk with embracing their gender diversity, with embracing their racial diversity as well within their front office. And what they're doing and what they're trying to do is build a team that is very representative of the city of Seattle and of the community.
Fitzhugh isn't the only first for the Kraken. Last fall, Cami Granado became the first female pro scout in the NHL. And the first hire in the team's hockey operations department was Alex Mandrycky, whose analytics expertise will help drive roster decisions as the Kraken prepare for next year's expansion draft.
So much has happened for the Kraken over the past year, and they're just getting started. Chris Daniels sat down with President and CEO Todd Leiweke to find out what's next.
Here now with Kraken CEO Todd Leiweke, who holds the distinction of running 3 teams that are not plural, meaning the Minnesota Wild, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and now the Kraken.
Yep.
But this one has a big S.
This does. It's a symbol of many things, certainly of our city, but it's also a symbol of the Seattle Metropolitans, who in 1917 did something no U.S. team had done to that point in time, and that is winning the Cup. So the whole thing came together beautifully, inspired by our fans, but some great artists as well.
Why was it so important to wrap your Kraken tentacles around the secret?
Well, you know, there's a defining moment, and we had listened so studiously for 2 years to try and really listen to the fans. And we felt it was their moment. So in today's world, almost everything leaks. And, you know, someone suggested we start a plumbing company because we know how to stop leaks. And so we were so proud that moment that when it came time for our fans to sort of see the present under the tree, it was that kind of moment that it was truly a reveal. And it hadn't leaked, and it was part of why I think that it's been so well received. But it's exciting because I think people already feel pride in wearing this. It already stands for good things. And for me, you know, wearing this, it stands for our fans. Because, you know, without the fans, this would still be a dream. The fans truly gave life to this.
Is this also going to be a bit of a place where you can sell free agents, sell potential players, come to Seattle, stand on the water at the home of the Kraken?
Yeah, I mean, it's in a world where most teams do spend to the cap, it's a business of recruitment and retention. And, you know, my time with the Seahawks, we got pretty good at that. Our training facility helped. Well, the Seattle Kraken are going to have the best training facility in the land. And I think when players come to this beautiful city, see our beautiful waterfront, tour the building, come to our retail store, but end up at the home of the Kraken up at Northgate, they're going to say, this is a place I'd like to play.
What are you going to think when you see people all of a sudden walking around town with the Kraken?
Well, it's been hard in these times because I'm a hugger, and my bias is to go up and give them a hug and say this is going to be phenomenal. But, you know, it's real pride.
What was the thought process with kind of the season ticket packages?
Well, we did something unusual there. And, you know, when you start something from scratch, you can do things that are different and unusual. You know, unusual is a building 100% privately financed. Unusual is embedding a transportation pass in every single ticket for every event. Unusual is being the first zero carbon building in the world. And also unusual is not selling a building out on season tickets. So we in fact took 4,500 seats, split them down the middle, created 20 game packs, and our projection is that everybody who that day showed up, the 32,000, we should have a pretty good chance of giving each and every one of them a seat for the games.
So now that you got through the big reveal and the season ticket packages and now the team store, what's next?
Well, we got a lot of work to do. The building is coming along and it's spectacular, but we got a lot of work to do in finishing the building. But I'd say one of the biggest things coming is putting this team together. And Ron Francis will watch hockey from sun up to sundown, along with all of our scouts. And we're dreaming of what they dreamt of in 1917, which is to bring the Stanley Cup to Seattle. For us, it's to bring it back to Seattle. And that'll be the ultimate crowning moment of this journey and this dream.
Kraken CEO Todd Leiweke, thank you.
We are at the new team store at Chandler's Cove in South Lake Union. And Jessica, I think it's time.
Yes, it is. We need to go inside and take a look around. Let's do this.
All right.
These are awesome.
There's a lot of cool stuff here. Look at all those hats, man. Holy cow.
This is the largest collection of Kraken merchandise you will find. So do we think we can get Paul Sylvie into a polo shirt?
No. See, what's funny is you got great polos too. These are cool.
But you're like too buff.
No. See, like I wouldn't just wear that out. Where I'm a t-shirt guy. I'm wearing t-shirts all the time.
Well, let's get you into a t-shirt. Let's get you in a t-shirt and a hat right
I'm going
now.
to purchase one as soon as you and I are done chatting.
I think I know a guy that can take care of you on this.
As part of their larger mission beyond hockey, the Kraken are focused on creating an inclusive atmosphere around the game. And that starts by being a good neighbor. Here's a look at how they're already giving back.
We have this unique opportunity, because we don't have a team yet, to build our own hockey culture.
Mari Harita is VP of Community Engagement and a key figure in shaping that culture. She wants to make the Kraken beloved on and off the ice.
We want everyone to walk into our facilities and feel like just excited and welcome and part of something that's bigger than themselves and part of something that's the whole community coming together.
That means extending those Kraken tentacles to reach some of the most vulnerable populations. The team's core partner is Youth Care, a nonprofit dedicated to help end youth homelessness.
It's about authentically trying to improve the lives of deserving young people and give them opportunities that they might not otherwise have had.
Does that objective take on a new meaning in 2020 when we are in the middle of a lot of social unrest, but also this pandemic that's affected so many different people?
Yes, no, absolutely, and thanks for asking that. Yeah, the dual pandemics, it's called of COVID-19 and also systemic racism. Yes, so our work through our foundation is focused on equity. That's one of the two pillars of our foundation and has been since we started. And we found that this moment in time provides this unique opportunity for all of us to really lean in.
And they already have. 100% of net proceeds from Release the Kraken merchandise sales in August raise money for Youth Care and two groups empowering communities of color, the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle and a nonprofit called Community Passageways, which focuses on ending the school-to-prison pipeline.
Another way the Kraken will be focused on kids is through their new Northgate practice facility and its community ice rinks. Chris Egan explains.
And I can't wait to come back a year from now, inviting all of these men and women back, and I'm buying the beer, and we're going to celebrate like hell what we've done together.
Todd Leiweke fires up the workforce before the topping out ceremony at the Northgate Ice Center.
Welcome to the Seattle Kraken practice facility and community rinks. Over here, we have Rink 1, which is where our NHL team will be practicing.
Kyle Boyd is the Director of Youth and Community Development for the Kraken.
We as a team and as an organization are really excited not only to be bringing hockey in the professional league to Seattle, but we're also excited to really invest in our community. We can see in the background there where their locker room will be and some of their training spaces.
The Northgate Ice Center also features 2 other sheets of ice for community use.
Whether it's learn to skate, learn to play, all of those who are interested and curious about hockey can come here, learn a little bit about the game, and hopefully give it a try for themselves.
Boyd believes getting kids involved with the game is a win-win for the community and the Kraken.
One of the things that really makes a really vibrant and thriving hockey community is youth participation.
The Northgate Ice Center will be completed in phases. Phase 1, which is the Kraken's ice rink, is expected to be completed by next summer.
Now the Kraken have to develop a team. I talked to GM Ron Francis about how he's preparing to build the roster. Ron Francis knows the Las Vegas Golden Knights developed a near-perfect footprint for success in their inaugural season, reaching the Stanley Cup Finals.
If we could do it exactly the same, we'd be happy to. I think it'll be interesting. I used to joke you probably want to be the second GM in Seattle, not the first one, based on what happened 3 years ago and the success they've had. But it'll be interesting to see what GMs look at differently this time versus the last time around.
Francis says the NHL expansion draft plays a big part in building a roster. 30 of the existing teams can protect 8 skaters and a goalie. The Kraken can then choose 1 player from each team.
I think you look for the perfect player, right? The perfect player has really good hockey sense, can really skate well, has a real good skill set. You're looking for the perfect combination as you build it, but ideally, strength up the middle, your centerman, your defense, your goaltending.
The NHL entry draft is more about taking stars of the future. That draft involves players between the ages of 18 and 20 years old. Non-North American players older than 20 are also eligible.
Character for me is a huge part. I have in the past taken guys off our draft list or walked away from deals because we didn't think the character was up to the standard that we wanted. I'd rather have a guy that looks in the mirror and says, hey, I got to be better, than a guy that points the finger at somebody else and says, hey, it's his fault, not mine.
Building a team during the pandemic has had its challenges. Francis is forced to scout a lot of players from home, watching games on television.
I have different scouting sheets for each game and different players that we're focusing in on or zeroing in on. So we have those, and the different categories we rate, comments that you want to have during the game. So it's tough enough building an expansion team, and then you throw a pandemic on top of it. It makes it a little more complicated for sure.
Well, so much has happened to bring the NHL to Seattle, and still so much more to come.
The first puck drops at Climate Pledge Arena in the fall of 2021. Until then, you can keep track of all the Seattle Kraken developments at king5.com. Thanks for watching.
Go Kraken!